Welcome back. There has been an update to Horn of the Abyss, the mod, and it has affected some of the things that my mod tried to affect, so I'll be talking about them as I play. But first of all, I want to go over my rules and how I've tidied them up, and just read them again, so we're all on the same page. If heroes exchange units, both their movements must end. You may not have more heroes than towns plus one. Garrisoned heroes count towards your limit. You cannot open prisons if it would take you over your limit. You can have a maximum of 8 heroes, garrisoned and not. You may not use the wait button unless you have tactics. You may only wait a number of times per round corresponding to your tactics skill. Basic equals 1, advanced equals 2, expert equals 3. You may not otherwise use tactics. You may not split a stack of identical units unless you have leadership. You may only split them a number of times corresponding to your leadership skill. So you can split them 1 extra time with basic, 2 extra times with advanced, and you can split your stacks to have 3 extra stacks if you have expert, which is 4 stacks total. You can only buy an ammo cart if you have Eagle Eye. You can only cast adventure spells if you have Learning. You can only have Implosion if you have Fire Magic. And finally, heroes with a First Aid skill may move after exchanging units in violation of Rule 1, but only the hero with First Aid is allowed to move afterwards. The two most affected rules by the Horn of the Abyss 1.7 patch update is both Fire Magic and First Aid have been buffed. Fire Magic only very slightly, but First Aid much more significantly. Pull it up actually, the numbers here. Yeah, Fire Magic was slightly buffed. The two rules that are changed are that Fire Magic and First Aid were slightly buffed by the Horn of the Abyss update. Now Fire Magic, it's debatable if it was a proper buff or not, because what they did was they buffed Firewall slightly, they increased the power damage multiplier from 10 to 15, so every power you get, it does 5 more damage than it used to. But they did reduce the number of fire elementals you can summon with the spell. However, they did change elemental summoning so that you can have multiple elementals on the field now, so I guess that might change things. I don't know what the effect of that would actually be. The other thing they did was they reduced Luna's specialization. She no longer does double damage, she does 25% more damage. So Luna has been massively nerfed. She still ends up doing quite a bit of damage. Like, she still ends up doing more damage than any other hero did before Firewall was buffed, even with that massive debuff. But Luna is no longer easily the best hero in the game. So this was interesting right here. I didn't take offense, which is normally one of the best skills in the game, but I'm more concerned about my ability to cast adventure map spells. But yeah, so the First Aid tent, instead of now, it used to do 1 to 25 healing at base and at no experience, and now it does 20 to 25, and then it does 40 to 50 instead of 1 to 50, and then it does 60 to 75 instead of 1 to 75, and then 80 to 100 instead of 1 to 100. So it's far more consistent, not really significantly more powerful. It doesn't really matter. Like, even if it healed all your health at the top level, I don't think it would make that much of a difference. So in other words, they kind of buff Fire Magic, but it's still kind of a terrible tool, and they buffed First Aid hugely, basically doubled its power, and more importantly, made it actually consistent, far more consistent. I still think First Aid is the worst skill in the game, and they released an interesting design Q&A afterwards. What they talked about was they didn't want all skills to be equally good, but they wanted all skills to at least have a niche application somewhere. And so First Aid, I think they actually did a good job there, because that means you get a Black Dragon early on from a mercenary, no, what are they called? Refugee camp. You get a Black Dragon early on, and your First Aid tent basically makes it unkillable against any low-level army. And I think that's a pretty nice little tweak. And they're planning to completely overhaul Magic, so it'll be interesting to see where they go. But my rules stand entirely on their the same they did before. So the only changes I'll be making will be not in a response to the rules, but instead the changes would be as a result of how I feel about the rules I've made. Well, you're paying for last night's parties. Your head feels like it's going to explode, and the last thing you remember was praying to stop turning your stomach inside out. God praying to someone. The cats walked far too heavily, and you swear the dead are making the loudest racket you've ever heard. it's weird being I think the game calls it teal, but it's clearly cyan. But it's weird being teal because it feels like I'm the bad guy. I've been playing the campaign lately, Shadow of Death campaign recently, and it's very much warped my view on Heroes of Might and Magic in a number of ways because I've just been playing it so much, and it is very playing it on a possible difficulty. On Iron Man, you have to make very very difficult decisions, and so hopefully I'm a lot better at the game now. But probably still make a bunch of stupid decisions. I think I can beat 3 green dragons. I hope I can beat 3 green dragons. About to find out if I can beat 3 green dragons. Navigation, actually on this map, might not be terrible. I'll give it a go just to see what happens. My rules don't change anything about navigation, but maybe it's situationally worth it. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about was what I view to be one of these guys to do a bit of item trading. I can't have them meet up properly because they have to end their turns if they do, so I have to figure that out. Like they have to both be near the ends of their movement when I do it. Yeah, some of the controversial changes they made were, as this city's in danger now, and he's not very strong, but I could buy a hero here, it'd be a different story, but I have my rule, so uh, it's a shame you can't buy captains. I now want captains just to make my rules work, like from Heroes 2. Yeah, I think I'm just... I could fire Valeska. Not really that invested in her, actually. I might do that. Then I will as well. And he can't spread out his units, right? And I haven't decided what to do about town defense. He doesn't have leadership, so yeah. I didn't really come up with a definitive answer on town defense, so I guess it'll have to be like this for now. Well, Deemer would be so much better for defending. Another of the changes is you can no longer hire powerful heroes from the tavern. Instead, what's the morale of this army? It's actually not terrible. You have leadership, you do not. Instead, you will always be given the weakest heroes first, like the level 1 heroes, and then only if there is no level 1 heroes available in the world, then can you get the highest level heroes. Which I think takes away a very fun part of the game, which was sniping your opponent's heroes. And I think that's my biggest change I don't like. The other change they made, we can see over here. Stables give plus 300 movement. They used to give plus 400, so they made stables worse, which I don't really... Probably going to break a couple maps, and I don't really see the point of it. Like, again, it's something that everyone can get access to, so it's a bit of a strange thing. And it's also... The stables is only good if you get it at the start of the week, which you can do if you're playing really, like, I gotta win, I gotta do everything perfect. But otherwise, it's kind of a... I'm allowed number of towns I have plus 1. Yes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we'll have 6 heroes. Okay, this is fine. Actually, I'd like to ditch the orcs, really. They're kind of slowing me down. But I think they can make town defenders. Keep them for now. And... Okay, so Hercules trades with Perseus, his movement must end. So what I can do about that is I can come over here. Should have visited the stables. I can do this, and then Perseus' movement will have ended. But yeah, so who's my archer, and who is my... Obviously Hercules is not an archer. I think that's pretty obvious. Mages are very archery as well. Because of swiftness is good no matter who has it. Now I could give it to Perseus. This is kind of interesting. I could give it to Perseus for this fight because that'll help Perseus out. But then if I want to give it back, that's a whole another turn. So maybe I don't want to do that. Do the golden bow and immunity to forgetfulness. That's good for an archer. And then which one of these guys is more suited to spellcasting? It looks like Hercules is actually strangely. This Hercules will keep this spell power related stuff. And these items are good for Hercules, but you're about to fight. Luck and morale. Luck and morale is great for Hercules too, but again, this is going to be a big fight, so I think the genies would be less useful than. Problem is going to be dragons, obviously. So I don't want my archers standing next to each other. These would destroy a dragon if they got in there. I think I do something like that. I think they're going to have to trade again, no matter what I end up doing here. So I'll just go all out with that in mind. So you can have the better gear and have the better shield, and who knows, that might come in handy. This might be relevant. Really, this is a fight I should get Perseus to, Hercules to do if he's here, but yeah. That's pretty good. Let's see if we can do anything better than that. So the dragons actually approach me. I think I would like... Golems definitely need closer. Okay. Yeah, and as long as they don't get morale. Okay, so Ken... I forgot to check if Perseus had tactics. Obviously, he didn't. I used tactics, didn't I? Okay, in this case, I think what I can do quite easily is load the autosave, which should be just before the... should be here, right? Perseus now has all those items I wanted to give him. I think being able to trade multiple times as long as neither is moving makes total sense to me. Rather than you can only trade once or something. It's already enough punishing that it takes up movement every time you do it. I think that's kind of weird, actually. So yeah, you got all the better equipment already. Yeah, you don't need the knowledge. You don't get that immediately anyways. At least I don't think you do. Check. Where is your spell points? You have 100 spell points, and then you have 100. Okay, so Perseus, let's check what you've got. You've got leadership, so you can split stacks a whole bunch of times if you want. You don't need to. You've got advanced tactics, so you can wait twice. Okay. Let's fight the guards. Like I said, I've been doing a bunch of the campaign, and tactics are a huge part of the campaign, so it feels unnatural to not use it. Okay, so I'm allowed to wait twice, which I will do once. Titans, and then see what happens. That. Do I have Dragon Slayer? I have Stone Skin. I do not have Shield. But less. 7 to 9, 3 to 5. I think blessing my Crusaders is the play here. There we go. And now I can hire a dragon, which is awesome. Now here's the question. Can I do... Sure. I'm going to say this is... Because I don't have an answer, I'm just going to go with yes for now. Because, again, they're still standing next to each other trading. And it's the idea of the logistics of the army, right? Transferring. So I think that's fine. And the whole point is to avoid hero chains, not to avoid trade. And so this has been focused completely on... Oh, wait, really? Holy cow. This is a really good item, and I just I didn't even realize I had it. Wow. If anyone wasn't screaming, then, you know, you should have been. Wow, okay. So, yeah, the Armor of the Damned casts Slow, Curse, Weakness, and Misfortune. Actually, I think Slow would be really good if I want to be making a Archer hero. I wasn't even thinking about combination artifacts. And then, do I want to take on a bunch of red dragons as well? I could take on... No, I don't. I do not want to take on the Dragon Utopia. I probably... okay, let's say I might be able to win. But, yeah, maybe I don't want to push that. Part of the reason I think reloading was okay in that circumstance, but it wouldn't be typically, was because I knew there was 3 dragons. So there's always 3 dragons in a Dragon Cliff. Like if I was attacking and oh, I learned how many I actually have to fight, that and reloading is using information unfairly. So I think that could tie into it somehow. If your save's coming anyways, then I mean it won't really matter. So then you do you. You can follow my rules on save scum, right? It's meant to be applicable to everything. I think otherwise, what I would have had to do is walk back to my spots with using my turn, like walk back to where I moved to using tactics. I'm visiting these learning stones because I would like to get logistics if I can. I had a thought while I was editing the previous episode that maybe I should make, but yeah, I had a thought that maybe I should make logistics a forbidden pick. Like you can only pick logistics if it's the only option available to you, because otherwise you're always going to pick it, and that's not interesting. But then always not picking logistics isn't interesting either. But then if I said you're not allowed to pick it unless it's the only option, that has an interesting point of its own, which would be you could purposely set up your skill choices so that you run out of choices faster, and then logistics is the only option. So there is that, but that's not. Another thing could be you have to get learning to get logistics. I already said that you need to have learning to cast adventure spells, but maybe I could change that to Eagle Eye for adventure spells and learning for logistics, because the L and then Eagle Eye and the... Or I can make ammo carts actually permissible, but I still like making ammo carts hard to get right now. You know, it just occurred to me that's a red hero in Pink's Land. Oh no, it's not. They're by this refugee camp, possibly? Yeah, I think these lands aren't actually connected. What's our little invader doing? Should be pretty easy to head off. Sure. More the merrier. And do you have first aid, Deemer? No, because that would be all the more incentive to get it. First aid would be just for little quick drop-off type scenarios. So you're going to be running for your boat, possibly. Although the AI is not stupid, so maybe they'll run past me. I'll go here, and then I can cover every direction. Okay, so that is another dragon. And then Dragon Cave. No, red dragons are immune to 4th level spells, I believe. Or 3rd level spells? I'm not allowed to see. 1 to 3 for green, at least. And oh, that is a really good portal of summoning, too. Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. Not to get any other outbuildings. I think I already grabbed a few, which is unfortunate, but yeah, I grabbed the gargoyles there. So hopefully the AI will take them at some point. He'll wait a turn. Maybe without first aid, you're not allowed to leave their zone. Like they have to always be able to stay within a realm of being able to trade with you or something. So you can trade and move as long as the other one can keep up. I also didn't need to swap back at the end of the last turn, and if I was planning to go for that one next. So that could have been on me, just not being used to the rules. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, that's not bad. And I'm not allowed to use tactics, and then... Yeah, they're not quite fast enough, so... Fire shield's okay. I'm allowed 2 weights. Give me 1. Now the question becomes... It does 100 extra damage, basically, if I cast it on the gremlins. Or it is... 30... It's like 30 extra damage if I cast it on the Crusaders. 60 because they attack twice. So I think the gremlins is actually slightly better. So can I take a hit? 150 damage. Yeah. And it'll do less than 150 in return. 106. Yeah, that was fine. Yeah, 9 attack and 10 defenses. That's getting pretty good. I don't even need the gremlins here. Yeah, easy. And that is a red dragon for sale. So... grab some red dragons. Okay. Now Perseus needs to get himself an archery skill. And... started by 20 to 50. And 7... what's the absolute most number of creatures that can be guarding this place? It would be 18 plus 8 is 26. So, and the least could be 12. So I know that it's at least 20. Because it says lots down here. I wonder if that's intentional, that you're able to piece that together. That's kind of strange. But so there's that. So this is a very strong Dragon Utopia, in other words. It's on the higher end, so I don't want to be attacking that. Good thing I didn't earlier. Pick these at the start of the day. That I could do with a boat down here. Yeah, please go there and then go there. Where's the harbor at? This just offset off the water slightly? I guess so. I wonder if that was an accident. But to get the Dragon Cave, I will need more wood. And I can get the labyrinth, so... Money? I was actually a little bit short on money. But I think I go for the chapel for now. And the citadel requires... So yeah, I need wood, and I need wood, and I need wood. See if any of these people have wood for some reason. Never have before, but... That was actually the HD mod, which is bundled with Horn of the Abyss. I think its most controversial change, in my opinion, is the Negabank. Where was it? They changed it. It used to give out sulfur, but they made it give out gems. And why I think that's controversial is the HD mod should be a 100% straight up upgrade that you don't have to think twice about. But instead, it actually changes the game slightly. So if you want to if you want to play the most authentic version of the game and do the campaigns like I have been, then the balance is slightly changed by all the negabanks. There's even maps that are like purely negabank focused, and you have like Fortress Town, which so you're playing as them, and the game kind of expects you to be getting a bunch of sulfur on that map, but you're not. You're getting gems, and so what I had to do was sell all the gems. Hercules is cheating. Okay, he has to go back. That's what I said. I can make it you go back halfway, and then, because that way you would lose the same amount of movement. If I make the punishment harsh, maybe I remember better, but then it's like, why are you punishing yourself? You're meant to be having fun, right? Wall of Knowledge, if it doesn't cost me anything, I need rocks, so... Yeah, so they're gonna try to run past me. Luckily, I have prepared myself for it. I could put Deemer in a boat. Or I could put Syrah in a boat at this point. You're going down. Do I have leadership? I do not. I want to get learning. And let's see what we can do here. You're 2 to 3. You're 2 to 3. 9 and 8. So they're roughly the equal threat, but these guys have less health, so that gets rid of the threat faster. And I assume she's going to lightning bolt and run or something. I would like to get, where's Tyrus? Up here. I would like to get Tyrus back quickly enough to hand over these Titans. I'm gonna start going for these... Ooh, no, what? Yeah, okay. So, do not take the wood one, because I'm going to grab Blacksmith. And that will let me get the City Hall next turn. Not much here, really. It's quite well defended, though. I'm not about to lose this town anytime soon, unless the opponent can learn fly. That's another change they made, which I think I like, but they made it so if spell research is enabled, which I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, it's not. Okay, but they made it if spell research was enabled, then you can't get Dimension Door or fly or anything like that. So that's something my learning rule would actually be kind of changed by, but I think it just makes it even harder to get fly in Town Portal and all that, which is fine by me. Yeah, move halfway and then halfway back, and if you're unsure about what's halfway, go on the side of just a little bit further just in case. I think that's fine because, like I said, it's not about making you feel miserable. It's about encouraging yourself to do more macro and having fun. So that's fine. Summon Boat would be quite good to get, but then that's only learning to be casting that. Ball of Knowledge. And that seems like you should just be able to cast Summon Boat normally, so that's another thing to keep in mind. But again, I play with the rules as written until after the session has ended. Yeah, it's actually, the turns are so fast with this rule set and just in general that I get surprised by them. You saw Europa at the celebration a couple of days ago, and she still makes your blood catch fire, trying to keep your mind off of her by thinking about nasty sights. Ares yakking in the punch bowl, Bacchus streaking through Mount Olympus, and other things. They aren't working. Isn't he the Roman version of Dionysus? You can get to the boat that turn. Makes Tyrus's life harder. Oh, way harder, actually. Because that would mean she has to sit there for 2 turns. Or I send Deemer back, he trades, but then he's stuck there for a turn. I think it's going to be a bit ridiculous, but I think it's actually the better thing to do, which is going to be that Lucky Clover. This Lucky Clover, by the way, I noticed, I was speaking over it, I think, at the start, but I noticed it, and I was thinking, oh man, that's one of those things where it's hidden in plain sight and you miss it for the whole game. And then Tyrus is going to be heading back there. Deemer can't move because he traded. None of these guys have first aid, eh? It's really making me want first aid, so that is good. That is good, because that's the point, right? The point isn't to make the game less fun or harder or you can't do stuff. It's to encourage different choices. Here-ish, and hopefully I have enough movement to get to the boat. I don't. That's unfortunate. And then Deemer, now that he has these Loins of Legion, is tier 3. He's going to spend his time in the town. Gonna be golems at some point, theoretically. The city hall just requires a blacksmith, eh? I'll grab this city hall. Down here, can I get the manticores? That requires a little bit of wood. Get a little bit of wood. Especially after that mega bank. And yeah, it makes this map easier for my faction. I'm not playing on impossible trying to get the super authentic experience, but it would be nice to get the original experience where power wasn't maybe as good here, but now they have an easy time because of the mega bank. And apparently you could disable it by unchecking HD+, but I didn't find that worked. So I don't know if they changed that or if it just wasn't working because I'd already started the campaign or what. It's so fun. They've been removed by Horn of the Abyss, except on maps where they were already there. Yeah, this map is meant to make you feel powerful, I think. Even with this many heroes, I'm almost at a loss for what to do with them, because I need boats to get anywhere, and can't seem to build any harbors. It's so rare that I build harbors I don't actually know where they are on the list, but it doesn't look like there's harbors anywhere. There's water right there. Maybe there's always water there? I guess so. Yeah, where did boats come from? You have Summon Boat, but you don't have Learning. That's going to be a problem if I don't get Learning. So what I need to do is get a hero with Learning. Learning, you don't have Learning. You don't have Learning. You don't have Learning, and you don't have Learning. Okay, I have stumbled into a slight problem here. Your job was to get me some archers. Perseus. And Perseus, I guess, just head for, yeah, I will get in line for the lecture, I guess, and just go and grab the boat when it comes back next time. Deemer's in no hurry. just take whatever is slow from here. And then Syrah, I really do with finding one place to restore her spell points, but I don't want to wait another turn, so she's just going to hop into the boat. City Hall's nice. Keep my money up because these Titans are going to be very expensive once I start seriously buying them. Dendroid Arches, yeah, they're just money, and money is what I have. It's only day 4, so I have time. I'll pick up even more wood, but I think it's worth it for the money. I guess the best way to get wood would be all this driftwood. If I get you there, can you also get there? You can't. Here. Then make it. No, you can't. Okay, so you may as well. Maybe she'll get learning from here. And then, does this town give summon boat? Doesn't. You have summon boat already. Yes, you do. Okay, so if I get you learning. Now, normally you wouldn't use your main hero to go grab gems, but I only have so many heroes, so let's make it a bit more of a tempting prospect. I think I'll go for the tree. I want these golems. I don't really want these golems. Grab the tree on the way by because you're not coming back this way? Sure. Was that, is this the same turn? Keep track of what turn you're on is a bit of a problem. That's something I should keep in mind as well. For that trade rule that I want to implement. You could just sort of vaguely say you're not allowed hero chains, but that gets tricky to define. I wonder if there's another way to do it, because, yeah, this rule in particular is... There's so many different ways it can go wrong. It's fairly easy to fix, on the other hand, if you know what you've done. There was that whole thing last time where I got where I had my army split with Syrah for like the entire game, and it was a little bit absurd. Even though it never really seemed to come into effect, but it was still a complete violation of what I was going for. Gems are always going to be nice. Yeah, I'll go for it. It's something that the AI would take a long time to take from me anyway, so it has that advantage. So now, I hope you grab learning. No, and now I'm looking for learning. That's good. That's good. It's annoying right now, but in general, it's a good thing. While I'm here, I guess I can talk other game design. I don't just have to talk about, like, here's my magic game design. One thing I've been toying with in some other videos of mine is the idea of games as art, as a form of art. A unique form of art, not just emulating other art forms. And I think the key of it might be something which I don't know who came up with the terms, if they're broadly used or not, but it's epistemic versus ludic gameplay. Yeah, so epistemic gameplay is gameplay based on the idea of info consumption. So you are learning through play, basically. It's more than that. Like, if you are playing a game like The Witcher, for example, then that is an epistemic gameplay in the sense that there's the story. You're learning the story. Something is being divulged onto you. So that's where epistemic comes in. Whereas ludic play is play through storytelling, which sounds weird because you're like, wait, isn't The Witcher storytelling? What's the difference there then? The Witcher is telling you a story, whereas in ludic play, you are telling the story. And so in The Witcher, the ludic play there is to a small degree the decisions you make in the quests, although that's a very barely ludic. That's a very binary choice. An example here, for example, ludic play would be, again, like Here's My Magic would be the paths you take and which heroes you hire and where you send them. Because that's your unique world, your unique story. And so in The Witcher it'd be which quests you decide to do and in what order and how you go about solving them. And I think the games where they focus on epistemic play, like the Uncharted games, are less of a video game as an art form of art. And they are almost a different form of movie. Same with a lot of JRPGs. They tend to be closer to movies than epistemic gameplay. Games like Outer Wilds or Breath of the Wild or its sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, those games are far more focused on you create your own story. Games like XCOM are a great example of ludic gameplay. Or games like RimWorld. RimWorld itself as a story generator. You're not there to see things be revealed to you. You are there to create things. And I think that creation and how that creation unfolds is very unique to video games. Like, you look at Papers, Please, and you live the life of someone else, and that is creating a story. And you can actually you can be yourself in that moment, or you can be someone else, and it's up to you. And either way, you're still creating a unique story. Is why RPGs tend to be so popular, and why fake emulations of RPGs are so popular too, where they just chuck experience points into everything, and then you pretend it's an RPG, but it's really not an RPG at that point. Like a game like Call of Duty or something, where oh, you level up and now you have new perks or something. It gives you the feel of customization, but they could just give you all those perks at the start of the game without you unlocking them, and it triggers a sense of progression in the player, which I think is actually a bad thing. I was watching a video where a guy was talking about, oh yeah, this is a great. I was Game Maker's Toolkit was talking about Call of Duty, and he was saying, you can learn from Call of Duty about progression. Really engages the players, and it's very fun, and it is fun and it is engaging. But I think it's just preying on addiction. It's not. That is where gameplay turns into the thing that people rant about and say, oh, you shouldn't play games. You're just wasting away your life. It's just an addictive behavior. It takes away from the art, which I think games stand on the same order of magnitude as something like playing music or dancing, or maybe even higher than those in many ways, because you can do it. Maybe it's more like being in a jazz band where you can do it with others. You can interact with them and you can riff off them and you can play off them and you feel like you're moving with another person. I guess you do that with dance, but the infinite variety and depth of games, well, dance too. Yeah, I can't really say that music and dance are any less than, and it's wrong to compare them to say one's better or worse, but given that video games are as broad and as wide as another medium like dance or like composing music or like painting for that matter, although painting there's less of that social aspect with it, I think. It'd be a shame to throw away that entire medium because you say, oh, it's this addictive behavior for passing time or something like that. And even if you play it, even if you play video games and say, oh, it's just my time waster behavior, that is a shame in and of itself. Like, you shouldn't be playing games to waste time. I think there's something valuable in relaxation, but I don't think relaxation and entertainment are necessarily the same thing. And so time wasting might be spent better relaxing, sitting on a hammock if you can, or going for a gentle walk, or staring into a fire. Television might actually offer that, if or radio, like if it's this familiar thing you're not really listening to, it's just there and you're just sort of relaxing as it buzzes over you, maybe then. But I think there is a sort of entertainment there, and you're seeking more and more better and better entertainment, and you grow bored because your body's discontent with you saying, your body's discontent with you refusing to relax and instead seeking higher and higher highs, when you could instead just lie on the floor and feel bored, because boredom is an important emotion. You shouldn't it's painful, it hurts, but it's one you need to experience, and that's the only way to make it go away and to avoid burnout, is to feel boredom in full. I'm saying this as if I'm perfect about it, but I hate boredom. It feels awful, but if you just sit and lie down and you sit with your boredom for a while until it's so unbelievably awful that your mind starts coming up with a million ideas a minute, and it's like, okay, you could be doing your taxes right now, and this is how you're going to do them, and you'll solve them 2 seconds flat, and boom, 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 and you start doing it, and you're like, oh wow, I have so much motivation, and I have so much energy, and I'm so creative because I just took that moment to sit down and actually listen to boredom, and let it dictate where my life went, or just let it say, hey, I'm overstimulated, let's just relax for a bit, let's just unwind and see what happens. And it makes you feel anxious, and it makes it, yeah, again, it's an awful feeling, but it's worth it. But yeah, I've seen people, they dismiss video games. Entertainment has its place, forming bonds for one thing, and also, you don't even have to do something with another person to form bonds, right? Like, the environment in which I was raised, I guess I could say, was very dismissive of sports, like watching televised sports. It's this thing that those yokels do, the uneducated hick type. There's a very important aspect to sports, or watching popular television, or listening to popular music. You listen to your Taylor Swift and whatnot, and it's something hipsters completely miss out on. Although hipsters, they get it through being hipsters, so it kind of works for them. What you do is you get to go to the water cooler at work the next day and say, did you see that game last night? And that's a bonding experience with you and your coworker. And you say, oh man, see the final season of, or the final episode of such and such, and they go, yeah, oh, that was great, this happened. It's a way to connect with people. And I think actually ludic play is harder to connect with people, because nobody wants to hear about your D&D campaign, right? Hearing about someone's dream. He wants to hear about your Dota game or your Heroes Might and Magic game, where you describe your play-by-play of, oh, and then I picked up this crystal, and then I went over here, and like, nobody wants to hear that. So I think ludic play is actually less useful for bond creation. It's more useful maybe as an expression of yourself. People will watch you express yourself, hopefully, because that's what YouTube's based around. It's about engaging with that ludic play with the other person. The ludic play can be transformed into entertainment, but I, the player, cannot bond with the listener in the same interpersonal manner. I can bond perhaps with my sense of self with you, with those who are watching me play, right? You watch me play and you say, okay, I understand this person better because this is how he plays. I'm getting a glimpse at his soul, and that's a beautiful thing too. But there's more kinds of bonds than just soul bonding. There's also the sort of the tendrils coming off of your soul, which which connect you on a lighter level. And it's not a lesser level; it's a different level. It's more sparkly somehow. It's friendship and shared experience, which is friendship in many ways. So those of you watching together are engaging in entertainment together. Therefore, you are bonding with each other. Your engagement with me is more of a matching your soul against mine, which is like listening to a concert being performed, where you say, okay, this is how the man did it. Because with YouTube videos, I actually find like they feel authentic a lot of the time. I don't like watching channels that get too big. When someone isn't editing their own work, you're getting less of experience in their soul. There's less of that bond, and people call it parasocial, and I think there is a parasocial aspect in there if you think that person's your friend or that you'd actually have something to do with them. But that's what art is burying your soul, right? I think there's all these arguments and debates about what's the definition of art, and I really think art is expression. I really think that's what art is. It's expressing yourself. Yeah, and I'm going to wrap it up there because last time I recorded for 2.5 hours and it left me with a video that took several hundred hours to edit. So I think I've learned my lesson, and yeah, I'll just wrap it up here. But yeah, you guys have a good one, and we will test out the game design theories more in the future. And that sort of solves the AI art debate in my mind. It's the art is your expression. Art is expression of yourself. So if your AI art is expressing yourself in a way that you feel, yes, this meshes with me fully, then I think that is art. And if it is just something you're like, give me one girl, the faces all look the same because the tokens are the same. I think you still are expressing yourself if you think that's worth sharing. But what you're expressing is that you're a very shallow person with no discernment or taste. So I think I would still call it art potentially. Like modern art, I think tends to be pretty terrible. It's almost a anti-art, which it's meant to be anti-art in a lot of ways. It's meant to show what you can remove and it can still remain art, or what you remove and it stops being art. And so it's meant to be a meta commentary on art in general. But the fact that someone dedicates their life to only creating anti-art, that says something about them. If someone does a bit of modern art and a bit of more classical or traditional art, or like postmodern art, or if they do a bit more traditional art, then that says, okay, this person has a full range of experience where they can look at the streams and say, this is what would change if I took away this element, but I also am aware of the beauty of form and whatnot, and I'm not just here to destroy institutions. I'm here to rebuild them and explore them in the way of the hero, and which is appropriate. Hercules is the god of heroes, or the hero of gods. That's actually a theological debate within Greek mythology. In the Iliad, I think it is, they come across Hercules' ghost, but the line is something like, we came across the ghost of Hercules. Not the god, he was still in Olympus, but the man. Because if he's a god and a man, that a god can't die, but a man can. And so since Hercules is both a god and a man, he's the only demigod in Greek mythology, actually. Like Percy Jackson and the Olympus say they can't have blood with all the demigods. That's not actually, even if your parents were a god, your parents transformed into, like Zeus transforms into a swan, right? It's not a god swan, it's a normal swan. So most of Zeus's children aren't gods, but Hercules is actually a god and a man at the same time. So he has a spirit that wanders, and he also is still alive in Olympus. As long as you don't think about it too much, like I think rationalism is the destruction of mythology sometimes. Like as long as they never meet, it works fine, right? Because they are the same person, but they're a god and they're a man. And then you're like, what if they talk and could they interact with each other? It's like, no. That's not how it works. That's not how. That's not the story. The story is that they met the ghost of Hercules, but Hercules is still alive in Olympus, and you can't extrapolate from there. You can only stick with the story, and that's why Harry Potter is such a lovely story, is because everything is whimsical, and the way that you make something whimsical is you don't extrapolate it outwards. This is a spell made for this situation and the situation only, and that's actually the lesson of Harry Potter, which a lot of people seem to have missed. Because I see a lot of people in fan fictions and talking about Harry Potter, they try to rationalize spells and say, why didn't they do this, and why can't you do this, and why is this spell so much harder to learn than this spell when they have very similar effects. And that's actually how Voldemort operated, and that's what let him become one of the greatest dark wizards of all time, was because he was very rational towards magic. He treated it like a science, and he became incredibly powerful. I don't remember, or I don't know who came up with this, but it was that Lucifer was the angel of rationality. And so he was the most powerful of the angels. He could see the furthest, but that also meant he had the furthest to fall, because he saw so far. He said, God doesn't do anything, rationally I can defeat him. What's the sound of one hand clapping? It makes no sound. So obviously, God is only the sound of one hand clapping at half strength, so at full strength he's the sound of two hands clapping, which is still zero sound, because 0 times 2 is 0. So Lucifer went and challenged God, and then God said, no, one hand clapping plus one hand clapping equals 1, not 0. And he cast down Lucifer. And Voldemort was the same. He never understood that magic is whimsical, and magic is about love and connection. And so the power he knows not, which is a chapter in book 4, I think, which is the power of love. defeats Voldemort again and again and again, and it seems unfair, like Harry's just pulling all these cheats out of his hat. Literally, he pulls a sword out of a hat, and Harry keeps winning, but that's because Harry understands magic far more than Voldemort does, and Voldemort dedicated his life to understanding magic, but never understood that you need to embrace the whimsy, you need to embrace the magic of it. You can't treat it like a science. Anyone that tries to rationalize the magic, they're acting like Voldemort, basically.